Ivan Demidov got benched in his third KHL game, but at the same time, he had some really nice flashes of talent, including this incredible rush. We got to get into exactly what happened, a pretty bad hit he took, and a few other things to get into in that whole SKA thing. And I know a lot of the fans, a lot of you in the chat right now have a lot to say about it, but we also got to get into some Habs training camp stuff. Not even officially training camp yet, but the boys are all there in Brassard, and we have a little clip of Laine Hutson absolutely dusting Cayden Guhle, looking like an absolute pro. Jesse, I know you have some pretty big opinions on that. Plus, we have another Habs prospect with an injury update, one guy who's going to miss training camp, some more interesting details on Patrik Laine to Montreal. Jesse, we got a ton of awesome stuff to get into on this live episode of Habs Digest. We got a big one cooking up for you guys today, and we got 91 of you in here already. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, boosting us up, clicking the button, seeing the number go up, it helps us out. We'd love to hit 150 likes by the end of the stream if we can get there. I'd love if you could help us. Jesse, how you feeling? We're just a few more Mondays away from the official season. Next Monday is going to be the last stream before training camp. How hyped are you getting?
We're getting so close now. We know that prospect showdown against the Leafs is coming up, right? We know we got the better young players, so just looking for that opportunity for the team to really show it, right? Like, we know just the buzz is building up around the city, around this team right now, so you know we're getting excited.
Oh, I'm so ready for this. We already got a lot of comments, and the first thing I got to talk about, though, is a super chat before the stream even started from Mr. Niles. Go give some love for that. There wasn't even a single chat in the stream before we got our first super chat. Just simply says, let's go. Don't know if that's for us. Don't know if that's for the Habs, for the season. There's so many things that we got to talk about. Quick look, we got a lot of channel members in here as well. From Joel, good evening, Joel. Ahoy, Planco. Good morning from Melbourne. Demidov did not play much in the third, says Wazo. Super Gujan, was Demidov concussed? It was a huge hit. Don't think so, I hope not. And a good day. Always good to see, the Australian fans tuning in here. So it's some great stuff. But we're going to get straight into this, Jesse. We're going to start with Demidov. I'm going to play that highlight again. This was posted by Grant McCagg on Twitter. He often posts a lot of Demidov stuff. But oh my goodness, what an amazing rush that was. Now, I actually don't have footage of the hit he took, but it was pretty hard into the boards if a lot of you guys saw it. Jesse, you know what? Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch things up. Because I would love to talk about Demidov, but I'm going to make you guys wait a little bit. Because I know we're going to get some more people in here. And I think, as you guys know, the good chats are always best when we have more people in here getting ready to discuss Demidov. So we're going to start with something a little simpler. Changing on the fly. Keep you guys on your toes. Doesn't often happen, but we're doing it today. So instead, what I think we're going to start with, Jesse, is this. And I wanted to start from an article that's linked down below, talking about how Montreal's made themselves contenders. And the reason we're saving this, we wouldn't probably normally do this in a news video, but I want to discuss with the fans, Jesse, because I know the fans have strong opinions about this, and we'd love to discuss what Montreal's going to look like just a few months from now. And some articles like this one by Jacob Punturi says Montreal could contend for a wildcard spot, goes on to say they'll likely just be on the outside, but they won't be far off. We heard Elliot Friedman and Kyle Bukauskas talking a bit about this, how they both said they kind of said no, but they were both a little hesitant. They were both like, you never really know. Laine's a big wild card. Jesse, as we get closer to the season, as we're seeing Habs prospects develop more and more, as we're seeing the boys together in Brassard, seeing them have that chemistry, are you getting more and more confident that the playoffs may come this season as the days go by, or are you pretty steadfast in your opinion, maybe even before the Laine trade?
The boys are doing exactly what they need to do to get prepared, like just showing up to training camp so early. All the good signs are there. I think they're going to be knocking on the door. I think that they're going to make it close. They're going to make it competitive, right? Like, even just with our young group going, but like, you have to feel like Hutson, we know, already looking so good in training camp. You got Ryan Bacher, Mayu. If you're getting contributions on your back end, but then also on your offensive side, right? With Laine, with Dach back, with an even older, more stronger Slav. We know Suzuki's going to continue that amazing pace. Caufield, right? Like, you just have to feel the way that this helps like the overall roster construction. There's going to be a big jump up for this team. And because there's so much parity, Josh, like now in the league, there's a lot more room for moving and shaking to kind of year in, year out. There's a thinner line between kind of that pretender contender, you definitely still need to pay your dues to get there. But I think with also, the Marty effect of being able to give a little bit more, like the special teams taking a big jump up. You have to feel with that, they're going to be a very competitive team and maybe giving us some very exciting games right to the end of the season to see if they make the playoffs or not.
That's the big thing. And I think one thing we've said every one of the last few seasons is like, if the Habs can be competitive come playoff time, then, you know, they're playing meaningful games later in the year than they did the year before. That's progression. And I'm actually going to put a poll. This is just a poll. I don't know if we've done this in a while or if we've really ever done this. Just a simple, will Montreal make the playoffs? And I'm very curious to see what our fans have to say on this, because it's not really something we talk about a whole lot. I mean, like, yeah, we talk about the possibility, but to hear what the public has to say about it, I want to see how Habs fans are feeling, because if you play the odds, I tend to be a bit conservative when I'm looking at this team. It's like, on paper, yeah, you have Dach over last year, you have guys that are going to make progression. Your bottom six is still not great. Your defense still has a lot of question marks. A lot of things could go very right, but you never, you know, that's never a guarantee. So I'd still lean on the side of no, but I'm really curious. Let us know in that poll right now. And I saw someone asking if we saw that Friedman quote about Slav. That was a few days ago. We did talk about it in the video, but I want to see if I still have it, because I might actually still have the quote here. Do I still have the quote? I actually don't. Sorry. So I guess I don't. I have some other quotes talking about how the Habs get Mikko Rantanen, but we're not going to talk about that here today, unless you guys want to later, as we get another super chat from Jakob Javor. First super chat, leave some love for Jakob's first super chat, guys. Hey guys, when do you think Mesar will be in the NHL? You know what? I think that actually sort of pairs with this topic, Jesse. I mean, you know, there are some other things that maybe we can get into, but I think Mesar, if he becomes a full-time NHLer, can, because at this point now, I feel like we've kind of lowered him in terms of standards. It's like we see those flashes. He's shown flashes against good competition, but a lot of the time he just hasn't been able to put it together consistently enough for him to really make that leap. He wasn't kept in the AHL last year. He was sent back to the OHL. I'm expecting a full AHL year this year. To me, the earliest Mesar could, like, you know, reasonably actually crack the lineup more than like a game or two as a call-up, I would say at the earliest 2025, 26, but I'd still have to see some progression from him this year, Jesse. What are your thoughts on Filip Mesar?
Yeah, 2 years, but I really want to see what he can do at the AHL level this year. We know that the size is there. I don't know. I don't want to say that it's necessarily maybe like the size that's kind of holding him back, but rather we know that the skill is there. Like, he's got a good shot. He's showing that playmaking, even showing like a little bit chemistry with Slav in the brief times of playing together, right? But the thing is like, you know, just got to show that he can play at that higher level. We've definitely kind of lowered expectations a little bit, but this is a guy that can still surprise us. You know, he's still a first-round pick. We know that there's some talent there. We know with the prospect, there's going to be those ebbs and flows, right? We're so quick to kind of get down on a guy when he's not doing so well, only to get so high up on him. We got to realize, like, this is par for the course, often for prospects, unless you're coming in the top 10, you know, something like that in the first round. Like, expect to have some ups and downs, and even then, it's not guaranteed, right? So I don't want to rule it out completely for him, but even making the NHL is going to be tough for Filip Mesar right now, but we definitely can't rule out that possibility because he's still got lots of runway here.
I think he's in one of those weird spots where I don't know if I'd want to use him as a trade chip yet, just because, again, he's playing a bit below expectations. I'd just like to see a full year in Laval. They said the plan last year was for him to get top 6 minutes power play time, and I'd love to see him get that opportunity, see what he can do with it. Earliest next year, but we'll just have to wait and see as we get another super chat, Jesse, from Wazo Premier. Montembeault is our secret card. Very underestimated. You know what? That's actually a pretty good point, too. I mean, the thing is, we haven't seen... Oh, so we got another super chat we'll get into right after. Thank you so much to everyone sending these super chats. Quick note on Montembeault. I think he's getting... Habs fans tend to rate him quite highly. Other teams' fans realize he's good, but it's hard to really give him the credit he deserves when you look at just his pure numbers, because the context is missing of just how bad the Habs defense has been in front of him, but that's something that's improving, especially defensively. I think Montembeault is in a prime position to really put on a standout year that is going to make him one of the best goalie contracts in the NHL. He's not getting paid that much. If you're a solid starting goalie, I mean, he's going to be proven that he's worth 5, 6, 7 million, I think, based on what I've seen the last year or two, instead of this $3 million contract. And I think that's one of those things, Jesse, when you want to be a competitive team, you got to have a few guys outplay their contract. And I would argue, other than rookie deals, Montembeault was the single guy I would be most confident in doing that this year.
And that's why we didn't trade for like an Askarov, is because really goaltending isn't our issue right now. We just need them to be okay. We're going to take a step up when it comes to our defense, to our goal scoring. We know that his save above expected was actually very good for the beginning part of the season. Normally that kind of regresses to the mean, but he was very good for this team playing in that 3 goalie rotation. So it's like, he just needs to be okay. When we're talking about the Habs, like, can they make a wild card spot next year? I kind of view it through the frame of, can they be better than the Washington Capitals were last year? Because if they are, there's a good chance they can make the playoffs. And I think that's an attainable sort of goal. I think a lot of players on the Habs might look at it as this, kind of similar type of way. Like, we know that top part of the Eastern Conference, the Atlantic Division is pretty stacked. We got the usual suspects there with the Panthers, Lightning, etc. But there's some teams below where there's starting to be kind of a changing of guard where maybe we can kind of get in there. So I definitely see those opportunities. And to make that happen, we just need Samuel Montembeault to be all right. And I have full confidence. Like, for me, he really turned me into a believer. Like, that first year with the Habs, I wasn't sure. All he's done is just really improve his play, continue to get better. We can't forget about Primeau, who I find is like, I'm just excited to see him play anytime he's in that there, just because he's still a little bit of a wild card. You don't know what to expect. Like, he's good, and he's going to come up with some key saves, athletic saves. He's an exciting goalie to watch. Obviously has that technique as well. So, we just need them to be average, but you have to feel, like you said earlier, Josh, they're going to be getting so much help, and that's going to be tremendous for them. Even if they're getting a little bit more offensive output, from a Hutson, from a Mailloux, just makes their job as a goaltender, just having a lead to kind of play with a little bit more, so much easier.
Yeah, and the defensive defensemen are not necessarily there yet, but you're very right. The more goal scoring you get, the better, I guess the more comfortable you can be, right? But at the same time, it's, even if they don't have an incredible goal differential, I think it was an interesting call out you made there with the Washington Capitals. They had a terrible goal differential all year long. It's just a matter of when you win these games, right? You could win 10 one-goal games and then lose 2 games by 5 goals each, and you're at a net 0, right? Like, that's the thing. That's kind of what Washington was doing all year, and I see a world where Montreal does something similar. So it's a really interesting question. I think Montembeault could be a very good, solid goalie. We got a bunch of chats here saying how Monty's good, but a lot of people are saying too, like, Primeau could be one of these guys that just sneaks up, Jesse. I think he could be interesting. As we got to get into the other super chat, there's a ton of stuff we got to get into, and I'm sorry for everyone whose messages I'm not getting to, because the super chats have gone crazy to start this stream. Thank you so much to everyone. This is from Eddie's Boy, getting you off topic. But isn't it nice to see Dach healthy and skating? Our season could be determined by his contribution. Kirby's back today, if you guys didn't see it. I don't have it here, but Kirby Dach was on the ice skating, and I think you're very right. When we're talking about wild cards for this season, I actually saw a post on Reddit somewhere. I think it was the hockey subreddit saying, what's your team's biggest wild card? And someone said for Montreal, like, some might say Laine, but realistically, it's probably Kirby Dach, because Laine, we know what he is at his peak. It's a matter of whether he stays healthy. With Kirby Dach, like, we've seen flashes of brilliance. We've seen flashes of a guy who looks like the team's #1 center when he's at his best, which is crazy to say. But will he be able to do that over a full season? Will he play in more than half the games this year? He's just not been able to stay healthy. I think if he can do good, Jesse, like, I mean, we talked about how Monty can make such a difference, but Kirby Dach driving his own line as a, like, top line caliber center, even if he's playing second line, makes a world of difference on this team.
Especially with that size. And it's such a solid point, right? Like, a lot of the Habs are going, and it's like, we got like a free agent. We haven't been able to play with Dach enough yet. So again, so nice to see him out on the ice. That Dach is back in Montreal right now. Like, him and Juraj, I love seeing the clips from them just at practice earlier, where they're just having such a great time on the ice. You have to feel the way that they're just having fun out there. Like, there's some chemistry there. I definitely do expect to see them playing at least a little bit on a line together other than the power play. There just seems to be a solid connection. Like, Slaf, even though he's good on that first line, I'm almost feeling like he's just a player that can be good on basically any line, right? But, like, I can't believe also how excited people are about Dach. Like, it's easy to kind of forget, but when he's that good of a player, like, we need to be reminded, like, apparently more people are excited about Dach's kind of his second year at last than actually, Slaf's third year. So absolutely amazing to see. And really, that's the question. Like, what is he going to do this year? Because he's got lots of potential. Like, Josh, what's a solid year for Dach, in your opinion, in terms of goal points? Like, what would you like to see as a benchmark for him next year?
I mean, I want to stay fairly realistic, and I'll assume he plays like between 75 and 80 games. Give him a bit of rest. Again, he's coming off pretty major knee injury, so like I wouldn't mind giving him a rest on a couple back-to-backs to start the season. Then again, if he's fully healthy, good to go, I don't see any reason to sit him. Like, it kind of comes down to how they evaluate him. I mean, my baseline, Jesse, is somewhere between 15 and 20 goals and somewhere between 35 and 40 assists. So we're talking in the range of 50 to 60 points is my baseline, because like, yeah, he could be better, but 60 points as a, like, 50 to 60 points as a second line center, I think is still very good. And it also depends on the chemistry he shows with the other players there, because there are now other kind of top scoring options. I think if anything, his assist total could even go up. I don't see him as like a 30 goal guy, not yet at least, which is why I'm kind of hovering that 15 to 20, but I think that assist number is very variable. So I'll say 50 to 60 points. I'm curious what you guys think in the chat. Let us know what your baseline points are for Kirby Dach. What do you kind of see as like, man, he better hit at least that. What about you, Jesse? Do you have it as a bit higher than me? I feel like 50 might feel low for you, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'd have it around 50 myself. Like if he's able to pull off a year like Slav had last year, 20 goals, 30 assists, I'm happy with that because I know that more is still in the tank, kind of getting that rust off. And I think that Slav, even though he's paying the top player minutes, if he's able to get that in basically half a season, I'd have to feel like Kirby Dach is capable of doing that as well. And he might just surprise us. But as you said, Josh, like he is a little bit more of a playmaker. So I think totally fair to assume, more assists kind of happening there for him. But like, playing with a Patrick Laine, like that's a game changer. Like this guy could get more. Like there's a world where he's scoring 25 goals, 35 assists, this type of year, which would be absolutely unreal. But if he gets off to a hot start, it's absolutely attainable for how good of a player this guy is in the offensive zone. Like he never gets worried. He never gets frazzled. He just controls the puck. He's got that big body protected. Like he has all the tools to be an amazing player, and that's one of the most exciting things for next year.
Yeah, I agree. We got a lot of great chats here. A lot of people saying 55. Alex, good to see you in here, Alex. Again, 60, 65 points is good for you. How many 25 goal scorer will we have this year's Positive Premier? How many 25 goal scorers? I'd be willing to say 4 at minimum. I think there's potential for higher, but I'm not confident enough to say that, someone like a Newhook will get 25, or, I guess, who knows, maybe like Laine Hutson or something could step up as we get another super chat, the 20th super chat on the channel from Mr. Niles. My goodness, guys, leave a like on Mr. Niles' super chat there for the 20th on the channel. Absolutely unbelievable. Thank you so much. As I say hi to Frank. Frank's in the chat as well. Hi, Frank. Mr. Niles says, if Anderson, Dvorak, and Gallagher create a legit third line and contribute 35 to 40 point seasons each, Habs make the playoffs. Dach 15 goals, 45 assists, 30 power play points. 30 power play points, I feel like that might even be high, but I actually don't think it's that crazy if he's kind of one of those playmaking drivers. But my goodness, yeah, like that's another thing. Anderson, Dvorak, Gallagher, I can see a world where they each put up between 35 and 45 points. I can see a world where that third line is not terrible. Yes, those 3 guys are incredibly expensive. Yes, those 3 guys are all on very big contracts, and you kind of expect more for the money they're paid. However, you look at Montreal now, Jesse, and there's a bunch of guys who are probably going to outplay the production, even including guys like Suzuki and Caufield. Slav, definitely this year before he gets into that extension. And then you still have guys like Newhook and Dach who are on like, $3-4 million contracts. You're going to have a lot of forwards who are kind of making up that gap. So even if that third line is below their pay grade, 35 to 45 points each from a line that like is a legit decent scoring threat from those 3, I think makes a world of a difference for Montreal too. And as someone else pointed out, like Dallas has been a really good team with a bunch of depth scoring. They did have some high-end talent, but no designated star. Vegas, of course, has a lot of pretty high-end talent, but a lot of it is distributed as well. So if Montreal goes that route, I can see a world where they really end up like being that annoying team that wins way more close games than you would anticipate.
For sure. I'm not holding my breath on Dvorak. In fact, I feel there's a high likelihood that there's a trade of either an Anderson, Dvorak, or an Armia before the season's beginning. Gallagher's not going anywhere. Gallagher's our boy. We still got faith in him. He's going to be chipping it up in front of the net. Had a solid finish to the end of last year, but Anderson's such a wild card in all of this, right? That's a player that I still definitely have hope for. Why? Because he has all the tools, and he's had to feel like if he just plays a simple game, like just take it to the net. If you got to crash a little bit, just start whacking away. Like just keep it so simple because Anderson so good at getting the net, but how many times, guys, did we see him miss the net, kind of going for top cheese instead of just get it on the net, just get those little putts in there first, and everything else. But again, like this is a player that can surprise us because he can skate. We know that the NHL is faster than ever, no problem. He's got the size. He can lay the body. He brings the energy. I think it's just, if he can maybe just kind of work on that mental side of his game, which we've seen a couple guys on this team improve on, Armia being one of them. If he's able to take a page out of his notebook, like we know Anderson can surprise us. We know there's a 20-goal scorer easily in there. And that's what we all want to see. Like, we're rooting for Anderson. We want him to do well because he's a great guy, great player, right? So just hoping to see that this season.
I think he could be a candidate for a bounce back. Then again, I feel like I've said that every year. What he is a 15 to 20 goal guy who will get you like 30, 35 points. And honestly, as a third line guy, ignoring the contract, which is hard to do, that's fine to me, honestly. So if he can go out and have that kind of production as a third liner, I'm cool with it. So we get another super chat. Very simple one from Doug Saylor. Great to see you in here again, Doug. One of our Rocket Richard members. Jesse, we should schedule a video chat for our guys, Doug, Alex, and Brian here coming up soon. We'll get that, guys. We'll get that going for you. I don't know if all three of you are in here. And also, we got to figure out who Piron Law Druid is. No one has reached out yet. I haven't seen. We have a Rocket Richard tier member who has just not shown up in any streams. I have not seen a comment from them. Maybe I have. If someone has seen a comment from them, please let us know right now in the stream or something. I very well could have missed it. There's a lot of comments. Sometimes I miss them. However, if anyone knows who that is, or if you're here, please let us know. If you're that Rocket Richard, remember that we don't know. But yeah, great to see you, Doug. We'll get that scheduled for you guys. And maybe later this week. We'll see. We'll send you guys a message in the group chat. Jesse, we have been going all over the place. We had stuff to talk about, but the chat has been so unbelievably kind so far with so many super chats that it's been hard to follow. As I'm actually just going to finally close off the poll for the playoffs. We had 181 votes. 51% said yes, 48.
Wow.
YouTube.
Wow.
Why can't YouTube do math? Like, why don't they round properly? It always adds up to 99%. I don't know. Regardless, 51% of people said yes. So it is what it is. And by the way, since we're here, guys, we're only 24 likes away from 100. Like I said, I wanted to hit 150 before we get to the end of the stream. So if you can help us out with that goal, just hit that button. Simple. It's free. It's easy. We really appreciate it. And we got someone in chat saying, I've been subbed, pupils. I've been subbed since you guys had 500 subscribers. Love the growth and love for the Habs. That was a long time ago. It was almost 2 years ago. Thank you so much for sticking around this whole time. It's unbelievable when we get those kind of chats. Jesse, let's get into this. So I wanted to talk first about this Laine thing. So I saw an article from Karine Haynes, was at the Hockey News today, and they referenced this. And I was like, okay, let me just go take a look, see if I can find the original quote about Laine rejecting a trade to Minnesota. This comes from August 31st. The link is linked down below. I apologize. I forget the name of the author. Maybe I can actually bring up the name because that might be yeah, you'll see some. Actually, you won't see that. Let me bring up the name of the author because it's worth giving the author the credit that they deserve here. So we'll cancel that. We'll head in here. It is by Lavelle E. Neal III. Fantastic name, might I say. Anyway, they spoke with Bill Guerin at a state fair in Minnesota. They simply said Guerin had made some progress on a deal with Laine, and he believed he had a chance to complete a swap until he couldn't. When I asked him if Laine wanted to come to the Twin Cities, Guerin said no. So, Jesse, what that tells me is Minnesota was on Laine's no-trade list. I don't know if that's because of its proximity to Winnipeg or what, but now that we know, Minnesota was there and Montreal wasn't, I think tells us a lot about Montreal's situation as well. Because, it's not like, the Twin Cities have that much of a different climate. Yes, it is different in a lot of ways, but whatever. From Montreal, it's still very far north. And, Montreal's in Canada, just like Winnipeg was, and you can imagine Winnipeg was on this no-trade list. And Minnesota's now in a fantastic spot, where they have a great future coming up ahead with Brock Faber, Marco Rossi. They still have Kaprizov. They have Matt Boldy. They have so many great guys. And yet, he said no. They were on the no-trade list, but Montreal wasn't. I think they're in similar situations. Minnesota's maybe even more competitive already. They're similar geography. Montreal's culture has been historically harder to play in. What do you make of this? I think this is actually really interesting to get this bit of information.
That Patrick Laine was very selective. Even scientific when he was picking his team, he knew, okay, this is the young core players that I want to play with. And also you have to feel like Marty kind of factored in, but you'd have to almost feel like the players had to be right there at the top, if not tied for Marty St. Louis, because I think he just sees the profile of these type of players and somebody that he kind of wants to grow with. But the fact that we're hearing the news of this kind of shaping up is just absolutely unreal to see. And it's kind of such a change in the narrative, what we've seen, where often the media likes to kind of portray this narrative like Montreal is kind of this last resort kind of thing for these stars, where actually in this case, with Patrick Laine, this is where he really wanted to go. I definitely, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think he chose very wisely because this team is on the upswing. They're going to be doing some very interesting things, and it sometimes take a player like Patrick Laine, who, make no mistake about it, understands hockey, understands the game, That's a huge compliment when he wants to be a part of what you're doing, because Laine is a tremendously skilled player. He can really play the game so well, and he wants to put himself in that position to be successful. Like he says that he doesn't want to be a 30, kind of goal guy. He wants to be a 40, 50. So he feels to do that. Like, I want to be playing with a Dach or a Suzuki, somebody like that can dish the puck to me. A Demidov down the road as well, right? That definitely didn't hurt all of this when Laine is making his decision. This is what he's factoring into. This is really what he's looking into. And like with the Wild, as you know, Josh, even though there was a big cap hit, which maybe they don't have so much room, like they were willing to somehow make it where like Billy wanted this player so badly. Talking about another person that understands the game of hockey, right? Really wanted Patrik Laine. But the fact that the Habs kind of got this player, just absolutely unreal, and just makes us really not take it for granted that we landed him.
Yeah, exactly. And, similar situations in some ways. This is the last year of the Price contract for Montreal. This is the last year of the buyouts for Parise and Suter in Minnesota. And again, there are a lot of kind of striking similarities between the situations, although Minnesota definitely is a little bit better at the moment. So very, very interesting. But like you said, Jesse, it's the culture in Montreal. It's the fact that the team is so young. It's the fact that people are just I don't know. I don't know what Patrik Laine is thinking, but I think that people are ready to rally around him, and I think he knows that too. I think Montreal is just a fantastic place to do that. Not that Minnesota wouldn't be, because again, I still like Minnesota. I think it would have been cool to see him there, but all in all, I think that gives us some great insight to Montreal. As we got another super chat from Alex, $2 super chat from Ikram. Laine mental is primed for a crazy year. That's what we're saying, Jesse. I think if things go together right, there's going to be some revolving line mates, I think, with Patrik Laine, because I think they're going to try a lot of different things. I think they want to make him, one, most comfortable, two, put him in the best possible position to succeed. Maybe this is my hot take of the year, but I see a world where Laine and Slaf play more than 15 games together this year. I don't know if that's a crazy hot take, but based on what we've seen, I don't think it's that insane if Laine gets off to a hot start to just mix up these lines. I'm not saying it's going to be the full season, because Caufield, Suzuki, Slaf is that line, and it's going to take a bit for them to even think about breaking it up. But my hot take is that Laine comes out the gates flying. Not that he'll replace Caufield, but maybe they move Slaf to the second or whatever. There's going to be some moving around. What do you think of that? Do you think that's crazy? Chat, do you think that's crazy? That Slaf's going to play a decent bit with Laine this year? What do you think about that, Jesse? I don't know who'd go play with Suzuki in that case. I'm going to be honest. But I see a world where maybe it's even Suzuki, Slaf, Laine, and Caufield with Dach. Is that insane?
It's not at all, because Slaf is one of the best passers on the Montreal Canadiens. And when you have a sniper, it's so key that you have that setup guy to trigger it up. For me, it's I think that a lot of the Habs are still getting used to how fast that Slaf can pass the puck. Mm-hmm. Even there's few guys in the NHL that have that much mustard. For me, it's a slept on fact. Analysts are not talking about it enough. This guy wires the puck around the rink with pinpoint laser accuracy. So absolutely, you want to see that type of playmaking with a Laine, a guy that could really, because you want a player that almost Slaf is seeing one step ahead. And with Laine, that's a guy who'd be able to read the play where this pass is coming so quick. He'd be able to know with it. He'd be on that same type of page. So for me, absolutely, I see a very much a world where this year, where Laine is getting 35 plus goals and Cole Caufield is getting 35 plus goals. Just imagine if that is on two different lines, though, maybe to kind of spread that out. Just imagine what that's doing for your team. And I don't even think that that's a tremendously hot take at all. I think very fair for Cole Caufield to end up 33, 35, 28 last year with that very low shooting percentage, 33 easy this year. He's getting back from his shoulder injury. Not only that, he's maturing in the league. He's getting a little bit bigger, which we know in his case always helps. Laine, we know if he's healthy, 35 goals, not a stretch at all. But, these two things, which that's why we're talking about this wildcard spot. If they're able to kind of attain these certain little benchmarks, you have to feel like that opportunity is going to be there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I see some people saying, at his pay grade, Super Gushon saying at his pay grade, Laine will be on the first line. It's just a matter of when. They did try to force Anderson onto that first line time after time after time, Jesse. But I think that experiment's kind of over, and I think they're playing them down in the lineup. They waived Armia, even though he was making $3.4 million. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I do think they'll try to do it. I don't necessarily Slaf, Laine, Dach is an interesting line. I just don't know what you do then with Like, do you dare do Suzuki, Caufield, Anderson again? Like, I don't know who you put with them. So maybe not, but there'll be some changes before the end of the year. Who knows what Montreal look like, but fantastic discussion on that. As Jesse, I'm going to move into some of the other stuff because we still have stuff to talk about. We don't have that much time left here, but I wanted to get into the Habs training camp, and unfortunately, Quenton Miller, he's a guy I was excited to see. I should have seen him. I live in Quebec City. I should have gone to see him play when he was still with the Remparts. He's now with Rimouski. But he hurt his shoulder, and he may miss Habs rookie camp, which is kind of a bummer because Quenton Miller, Jesse, I mean, he's one of those guys, like, you never really know with goalies. I mean, goalies, a lot of the ones that end up playing in the NHL all put up really good numbers at lower levels, or sometimes they don't. Like, that's just the thing, or maybe not. Like, you just never really know what's going to happen. But Quenton Miller, like, he is not bad. Like, I just got to say this, right? And I think a lot of you guys know this too. With the Quebec Remparts last year, not super amazing. Of course, the year before he was drafted there, he had a .911 save percentage and a 2.11 GAA, although in a 20-game sample size. He played a bit more with Quebec. He didn't really get it going, but when he was traded to Rimouski, Jesse, his numbers picked up a lot. Great save percentage, 2.6 GAA. He's still 19, but he's 6'3", 180. He's still growing. He got that size. He got a good mentality. He's from Montreal. He's one of those guys I was excited to see because when I was looking at this rookie camp roster, he was the #1 goalie, and now he might miss it, right? So I think for him, this is a real missed opportunity, and I'm quite sad to see this, honestly, because I think it could have been cool to see what he had in store.
Yeah, this was a big chance for him to really get on the Habs roster even more. It is just even more unfortunate is the fact that he's had a couple little bit of injuries of late, even with those upper body shoulder type injuries of late. So hopefully that he can kind of shake that off. Now, this isn't kind of writing off his career, not by a long shot. It's a prospect kind of showcase. There's still lots more time from him, but for sure you got to be disappointed. This was circled on his calendar for a long time, and obviously training, getting ready for this. So unfortunate that, you know, this injury needs to happen so close, but that definitely is the nature of the game. It does happen. As you alluded to, the size, very good. A lot of those skills are there. We know goalies that it can be so variable. That's why we got a couple of them in our pipeline. And you have to feel that kind of by doing that, we're going to have a couple that are really going to pop off at a certain point. So we're definitely going to need to continue keeping an eye on him, and hopefully he'll have his chance to shine soon enough.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what he does this upcoming season because, again, not every prospect can show out. But Alex, like you commented on the last video, is like, you know, when we talked about Filip Eriksson, it feels like, Jesse, more than ever before. Like, I feel like in my whole life as a Habs fan, I did a lot of rationalizing with prospects maybe not putting up the best numbers, but how I think they will end up being better than they're showing. But now it feels like every single prospect, at least at some point, is kind of showing out more than we'd expect, and we almost have to convince ourselves, okay, and then not every prospect's going to be great. And I feel like that's just this flip, right? It's like, well, Quenton Miller, I mean, it's the Q. You just don't know with goalies. And maybe he's a guy that I wouldn't have even considered looking at a number of years ago, 5-6 years ago, when I wasn't as, you know, tuned into everything going on. But when it comes to him, it comes to Filip Eriksson, it comes to literally anyone, except, I mean, Demidov had a pretty rough day today. We'll get into that in a minute. But, like, isn't it cool to say, like, so many of these prospects we're talking about are actually performing better than we were expecting? We're genuinely excited to see them prove themselves right and see how they can fit into the future of the Habs.
Yeah, it's such a luxury right now. And you have to feel like part of that is with the drafting that we're doing. We've just taken such a big step up. And also the analytics as well, which the Montreal Canadiens were one of the later clubs in the NHL to adopt. And I mean, the proof's in the pudding here. Like, since they started implementing that and kind of having be a part more of their draft sort of process and kind of checking those numbers, checking the underlying stats, you know, I think it's definitely factoring into making some solid decisions. I think that being said, it's also about knowing what your team needs in those later rounds where maybe it's the time to maybe go for position a little bit more and stocking up, just knowing that by nature that prospects are going to be so variable. So by kind of securing those certain key positions that you need, just really obviously increasing your chances of success, all this being helped by us as having so many picks that we've accumulated. So by this, like, for sure, a couple of these guys are going to pop off just because we have so many prospects to choose from, which is really a great sign of this organization building the right way through the draft.
That's it. And like the development has been so good, and I'm so glad the Habs have been investing in development for their players. I mean, not even just through Montreal or Laval. I mean, I don't know how far the reaches are of the Habs development program. Like, you can only do so much when a player's playing in a completely different junior league, right? You can't really control everything, but you can control a little bit. So it's really cool to see what they've been able to do. So I'm going to look through the chat. We got C Dizzle saying every prospect's going to be great. We have so many chats in here. And like I said, I'm sorry if I can't get to so many chats. As you guys know, channel members and donations do get priority because we have so many and we have news to get to. But yeah, it's amazing is we got 322 people in here, 105 likes. Gonna ask one last time here. I want to hit 150 before the end of the stream. Do you guys think that's possible? I think it is if everyone watching just hits that button now. You know, I'm just saying. I know there's always a handful of people that hate that I ask for that so often. But here's the thing: when I ask for it, it happens. So like, I think you'd do the same thing if you were in that situation. As Jesse, we got Doug Saylor, member for 3 months. Rocket Richard tier. One more time, my goodness, Doug. Thank you so much for making that public again. That is unbelievable. Doug, we talk with Doug all the time in the group chat. We'll have video chats coming this week, I'm sure, maybe early next week, Doug. That'll be coming in very soon. Says Cole will have a rocket on his back with number 13, 40-plus goals. Brief thing, Jesse, you got Caufield pegged for 40-plus this year? Because I think I do. I think I've come around. I'm not going to be conservative with this one. I'm pegging Caufield for 40 goals this year.
I love that. And, it's absolutely possible. That being said, is we know that he's playing more of a defensive responsibly game. So like I said earlier, I'm happy with 35. Do I think that he can? I'm a homer. Of course, you guys know that I believe Cole Caufield, with that talent, with that pinpoint accuracy that he has, he can do it. He's a danger anywhere for the offensive zone. He just needs to shoot, and I want to see early on in the season just letting it rip. It's okay. That's what he does, So, yeah, absolutely. I think even playing more of a complete defensive game, even being more of a playmaker, I think we need to expect that that's going to be part of his game kind of going forward. So with those other things, being part of the package now, I'll be okay with 35, but yes, absolutely, Doug. I know your favorite player with the Habs. I know that he can get 40 for sure.
I wouldn't mind if Caufield and Laine come up as number 1 and number 2 in the entire NHL in shot attempts. But we got to get into a few more things before we conclude this up. I mean, usually we go 45. We might end up going a few extra minutes because I want to cover everything. But the first thing I wanted to do, Jesse, is get back to that training camp. But I wanted to show this video again because I had some questions about Laine Hutson. Jesse, your comment to me upon seeing this dangle and then Guhle saying, I never had a chance. It's very true. I'm going to play it one more time for you guys. Your immediate comment was, oh, why is it not working? Why, there we go. Your immediate comment was, he's made the team. And you know what? I think I'm sold. I mean, this is just one little thing, and we're going to wait to see what the actual training camp does look like come September 18th, which is the first day of it. But we're going to go back to the polls. We got over 300 people in here. I'm hoping to see at least 150 votes on this. Will Laine Hutson start the season on the Habs? Because I actually still think there's a good chance he starts the season in the AHL. Just because you can do it. You have flexibility with his contract, and, it doesn't really matter. He'll still get really top pairing minutes down there. He'll get a chance to play with probably his future partner in Reinbacher, right? So I think there's definitely benefits to both. But Jesse, we're starting to see this skill. We're starting to see this unbelievable stuff. I bet you the poll is going to be overwhelmingly yes. But after seeing this, after seeing how the Habs seem to embrace him, I think it's going to be hard to make a case that he shouldn't start the year with Montreal. Because it seems to me like maybe even his fellow teammates are going to be saying he better be here.
Come on, that's NHL level moves. Like, he's doing this to Cayden Guhle, who we know as a good skater in the NHL. In fact, one of the fastest players on the Habs, right? So we see with Hutson, though, just being so deceptive, making him kind of eat snow like that, making Guhle blow a tire is something. And I think that's a solid point. It's like, it's actually going to be his teammates that are going to want him because, like, this is going to help the power play. It's going to help Laine. It's going to help Slav. All of them a lot, having just this other offensive player on the team. Absolutely. Like, for me, when I just see a play like that, like, yeah, it's just one play, we're joking, but it's like, that's impressive type of things. Like when Martin St. Louis on the bench, I'm not assuming that he's there in this situation. Pascal Vincent's running a lot of that. But he's just kind of nodding his head as he's seeing that because he's expecting this. This is what he wants to see him do. And just, we got to know that we're going to see a lot more of this at the NHL level. It's just, that is NHL level speed, deceptiveness. He's just been effective at every league that he's been at. We just say, oh, the size, but he's been small in every league that he's played in. He's always had players because of his skill that have tried to target him. and he's still been effective. So there's something said, same with Cole Caufield, right? It's like these players that have still done well at all these levels. I have no doubt whatsoever that he's going to be able to do at the NHL level. Just as we see more and more plays like this, I honestly see a world where he's definitely making the Montreal Canadiens out of training camp solely because he deserves to.
And like some comments said, he made it last season in that right situation. Like, I think you're very right. I think there's a world where that happens, and I actually think it's becoming more likely by the day. As Jesse, we got 5 gifted Habs Digest memberships. We'll be ramping up some of the members-only content as we get towards the season, of course. So being a channel member will have even more perks than it has right now, where we priority answer your message here. We leave more likes. We respond to more comments and videos, all the good stuff. We got 5 new people. So if you hear your name, you're now officially a channel member. Joseph Earl, Coach Hooded Canuck, Darren Hunt, Tiso, and Stamaki Weekly. You are all now channel members, so feel free to chat. Simon Desjardins, the person who so kindly gifted all of these memberships, just simply says, smash that like button. I could not have said it better myself, Simon. Thank you so much. Super Goujon saying, at this point, I don't think so. Hutson will need to impress after the main camp. We'll see. Ça sent la coupe. You know what? Ça sent la coupe. I don't know. Will YouTube demonetize me for saying that? I don't know. I know it's a... What the heck is going on behind me here? What is that thought bubble? What even was that? Where did that come from? What the heck was that? I've never seen that in my life. Anyway, we got another super chat from Mr. Niles. Habs will carry 8 D-men until RHP is back. 8 D-men is a bold take. Struble Hutson will split matchups, and Mailloux Barron will battle for time and hopefully push Savard down. Here's my take on that. Before we get into the Demidov stuff, which we're still going to get into, Jesse, this is crazy. We'll get into that very soon. I don't see them keeping Hutson with Montreal if it means that he's just going to split matchups and not play in some games. I think in that situation, if that's kind of your plan for him, you just keep him in the AHL. Like, I know you can kind of send him down whatever you want, which is, the flexibility you get with Struble as well. And I know, like, Barron, he'll probably stay up, and you got Mailloux too. I don't see 8 defensemen, personally. I think if Hutson's making the team out of camp, you have a plan to play him a lot. It's going to be tough for him to make the team because there's a lot of guys who really deserve a lot of playing time too. But for me, if you're even planning at all to have him, like, play 7, 8, maybe 9 minutes a game and like split matchups every off game, against whatever you don't play him, I'd say you just put him in the AHL. Are you kind of in a similar vein there?
For me, it's like, I don't know. I feel like Hudson's just NHL ready.
You know
like,
what? Yeah.
I feel like his game is just completely suited. That being said, is like they're gonna want to like hold on to Barron. Like he's waiver eligible now, so it's like that's gonna be a factor all into that. Is like they're gonna want to give him a chance, Justin Barron, at the NHL level to really show he's gonna be one of the bigger players. I feel like is having more of a tryout. Like I feel like Laine Hutson's future, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but is secure in my opinion with the Montreal Canadiens already. It's more players like Justin Barron, et cetera, that need to kind of prove that, and will almost earlier on the pressure will kind of be on them, right? Because that'll be, if whatever reason it doesn't work for Justin Barron, right? Like you'd have to feel like a trade could come sooner than later, even though he's a right-hand D, and I don't think that we should give up on him. I still think he's a good player. I think he just maybe needs a little bit more time, and rightfully so, that the Habs are going to take that time and give it. But we know like hockey, it works by vets. It works by like meritocracy. It's like, you have to pay your dues. That's just the way that it goes. So for sure, Barron's going to get every opportunity just because he has a little bit more of that seniority. So that's going to make it that much harder for Hutson. But even that being said, just with that talent, I just think he's just going to continue to shine too much where, he's basically just going to force, Marty's hand basically in putting him on this team.
I would love nothing more than that. I think it'd be so cool to see him. Oh man, it's going to be so cool to see this coming up this season. But Jesse, I think it's time. It's time. We would usually end the stream around here, but we got to stick around for a little bit to talk about Demidov. You guys have been so amazing with the super chats, the channel memberships, the gifted memberships this stream. So thank you so much. And this is the peak viewers so far. We got 344. It's the most we've had. You guys have tuned in at the right time because it's time to talk about Ivan Demidov. So today, Roman Rottenberg played Demidov for only 1 single minute of the third period in a 2-0 shutout loss, and he did not play very much the rest of the game. Demidov had only 1 shift, logging 101 time on ice, registering 1 shot on goal in that third period. For the game, he finished with 10 minutes, which is still not that bad, but to be benched in the third was a little interesting. 1 shot on goal, 1 blocked shot. He was playing again with Kuznetsov there, you can see on that third line, so it's like, he was getting the opportunities a little bit, Jesse. Now, there was a hit that I don't have a video of that some people are saying maybe caused him to leave the game prematurely. But at the same time, it definitely wasn't his best game. But despite that, he still has these flashes of brilliance. In this video, like I showed off the top of the stream, I'm going to play it again. Look at this rush. He's just so fast. He gets all the way to the net. And again, this guy's 19 playing in the KHL. I'm already seeing tweets of people saying, get him out of SKA, bring him over to North America. If this is the development plan, we don't want to deal with it. I've seen some tweets from Habs insiders saying Roman Rottenberg looks like he's being outcoached. I'm going to be transparent. I haven't been able to watch the full games in the KHL. I have watched some highlights here and there where I can, but I can't get the full context of what's going on. Maybe some of you have been able to do it, but Jesse, at this point, are you worried at all? Because honestly, I feel like worry is shooting through the entire Habs fan base right now, and I'm just sitting here saying, it's game 3. Let's just wait and see what happens. Maybe he did get injured on that hit. Maybe he would have had more playing time under other circumstances. He's still generating scoring chances. He's still getting 10 minutes of time on ice, which is not a crazy amount. Of course, it's less than his first 2 games. And hey, look, when he played less, they didn't score. I'm just saying, I think there's still a real world where he just bounces back. I don't think this one game is necessarily the time yet to be all doom and gloom about this.
He's one of the youngest players in the KHL, and there's some greater context as well to like why he didn't play as much in that third period was that Kuznetsov, his line mate, was getting tons of power play time. You know, basically every power play, they got a couple, and he was just out there for all of it. So in order to kind of give him a little bit of a rest in the third, that line didn't play as much. But that being said, like in the third, on his one shift, he gets a shot on net in that he gets a scoring opportunity on that alone. So he's one of the youngest players in the KHL. And this guy, honestly, you know, even though this was maybe, you know, not one of his best games, it's really par for the course of having some ups and downs. It's really about how you kind of react to these type of games. But being one of these youngest type of players, it is absolutely normal. Still in this game, though, we see him controlling the puck, the play so well in the offensive zone. Like, this is a guy that loves to have the puck on his stick, and he uses his body really well, kind of like Slav, to really protect the puck. But the best thing about Demidov, Josh, is he likes to have the puck on his stick in the offensive zone. He likes to take control in the offensive zone because he knows who he is, because he owns it, that he's one of the most skilled players on the team. So that's what he should be doing. But the same, he's still a playmaker, though. Even though he likes to have the puck on his stick, if he sees that opportunity there, he's going to make the pass. He's not a selfish player. For me, I just like that, a player that knows the balance of, like, sometimes you want your best player to hold on to the puck in the offensive zone, take control of the play. In fact, you often kind of need it for a power play to be effective. You need some decisive decisions to be made. You need a player to really kind of be driving that play. But just the fact that he's has those capabilities, but that at the same time that he's so unselfish, for me, is just such an amazing combination, which is going to lead to so many goals and assists for him in the NHL.
Yeah, like I'm not necessarily concerned. However, I do wish we could have seen more of him, because at this, like, I get it. I'm not getting the full context of the games, but like you said, Jesse, we're watching him. He's creating opportunities. He's using his body to shield the puck. Yes, he got hit pretty hard in their last game, so he, there's some things he's going to need to learn. He looked maybe a bit overzealous at times, thinking like, sometimes maybe the moves you pulled off in the MHL are not going to work. But at the same time, in the preseason, against full-on KHL teams, he was still dominating them. So when he has the puck on the stick, when he's able to create, he gets a ton of opportunity. I see a lot of people in here in the chat saying, like, hey, do we really want him learning from Kuznetsov? It's like, hey, by all accounts, Kuznetsov has seemed to be a very good locker room presence. I know it's not all positive with Kuznetsov. There are some issues, but I think it could be good. But Jesse, it's time for a poll, because the chat has been so good with the polls recently. As 84% of the chat, YouTube, what even is this? Are you guys seeing this? YouTube is telling me, it just rounds down. It's telling me that it's adding up to 98%. That's so dumb. Anyway, 83%, I'm going to round that up to 85%, said yes, Laine Hutson will start the season on Montreal. What even is this? You seeing this? How does it even happen? That's the simplest program. It's not what this stream's about. It's not what this stream is about. We're going to put up the poll. We're going to put up the poll here. I'm just going to ask you guys a simple question. Are you worried I guess, about Demidov after today's game? Simple question. Yes or no? Let us know in the chat, because, again, my answer is no. I think your answer, Jesse, is no, because we've seen enough flashes from him, but I think the fans are kind of a little bit iffy. We got Tom in here. Tom's having a lot of, I would say, borderline hot takes on a lot of players right now in the chat here. He says Demidov needs the weight room. He's in for a big surprise in NHL ranks. In the NHL, he scored 1.4 points per game, leading the league in scoring. Never played an NHL-sized rink. It's different, right? So there's a lot of adjustments. That's the thing, Jesse. But when you're 19, like we've said, the fact that you're playing alongside the captain of the team, alongside a guy like Kuznetsov at 19, like, I mean, I feel like we've rehashed this point so many times, but it's true. Like, he is our best prospect. He is the best prospect we have had in so long. But that doesn't mean every single game is going to go the exact way you want. It doesn't mean that he's going to be lighting up the KHL at the age of 19 every single night, showing us, oh my gosh, he's phenomenal with crazy highlight reel stuff every game. Even despite this game, he still had a highlight reel rush. Like, that's the thing to me. It's like, only the truly most elite of elite players in NHL history are able to dominate higher leagues as teenagers. And Demidov is like showing flashes of it. So to me, that is more than enough, which is why me and you, and alongside, I think 80% so far of people in this poll have said, no, there's no worries. Why would we be?
No, definitely. And we have to remember this is his third game in a professional league. And it's actually having some off games that's actually very good for your development.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to have Demidov playing the full year in the KHL, for him to get ready in Montreal. We know if he's able to play at the KHL and at a good level, keep producing the highlights like we've been bringing to you guys, over the last couple of days, we absolutely have nothing to worry about. The fact is for him right now is getting the reps, because he needs that experience, but he's playing at the right level for his growth, for where he needs to be at right now. So are some bumps and bruises going to come along the road? A little bit. Are we still going to see unreal highlights, him going inside and out, driving the puck, to the net? Absolutely, because this is what we can expect in Demidov. He's one of the most intelligent and fastest players in the game, right? So he's killing it right now. So absolutely, we just need to be patient. But, we know that we don't have too much to be worried about with this young man.
Absolutely not. And we got David from Ireland. Good to see you again here, David. All like yes instead of no. That's okay. I think you might be able to change it. Ollie saying, hey, I got here late. What prospect got injured? It's Quenton Miller. I'm going to pop that up for you quick because he got here late. Just Quenton Miller hurt his shoulder. He was kind of the guy that was meant to be the goalie for this training camp. There are his stats. If you want to pause, Ollie, we're going to get back to Demidov stuff, but I just figured I'd help you out there a little bit. As we got a couple super chats to get to, Jesse. We got back-to-back super chats. One again from Jakob. Jakob, welcome in, and thank you so much for these super chats today. Montreal fans had more hype about Demidov or Slav. I don't know if this is recency bias. I don't think it is. I think it's Demidov, and like when you're considering hype of a player when they were drafted, even though Demidov was the 5th pick, I think Demidov is higher. As for the future, I also actually think it's Demidov, Jesse. I don't know what your take is. Quickly, before we get into these other two super chats, what's your take on that?
This is a great question. I'm kind of torn on it, because for me, the buzz on Slav, like just true. Days leading up to the draw, like was huge. And for me, when I was seeing this much buzz, I was like, okay, now I need to really look into this player, because Montreal Canadiens fans, they're being so smart. They're so excited about this player. There is some. So let's take a deeper dive. Let's look into this player even more. And were we ever right? And I would say it says a lot, especially when you have such a smart fan base like we do, when there's a lot of buzz about a player, when you have that many people that are excited, it says a lot. There's, for sure the buzz can happen, but when you have that many people really believing, and there's a tangible buzz, that X factor, something special you can feel, there is something about that player. I think there's a lot to kind of take away from it. We knew how excited we were after Demidov, the draft. We were, here doing the live. We knew how hyped that was. But, for Slav, it's been big as well. And that love for Slav is still there. That hype is still growing, right? And this is going to be players together where it's like, these are the fan favorites, in my opinion. Like, they are the next generation of this team. And it's really bound to their fates. Like, the future of the Montreal Canadiens, whether they win a cup or not, is going to be so highly determined by Slafkovsky's development, by how Ivan Demidov plays in the NHL. You would have to ration that, like, if the Habs do, if Slav has an amazing career, if Demidov has an amazing career being elite players in the NHL, that the Montreal Canadiens give themselves a good chance of winning a cup, dare I say 2 or 3, right? So just because they have a long window of time where they want to compete, I think with this young core, if we're able to get those 2 cups out of it, I think that would absolutely be unreal. So I'm a little bit torn, on it. Obviously, a lot of love for both these players, and I think the hype is rightfully deserved for both of them.
Yeah, you know what? Just considering second half Slav this year, it's like I feel like Slav's potential is almost more tangible at this point, but Demidov's ceiling is like legit 100+ point superstar.
Yeah.
And I like Slav plays a different game. Like, Slav could get there, but I think that'd be crazy. I think Slav is just one of those guys that's going to have a big overall impact. It's hard to say. There's so many things. Holy crap, Jesse! We got another. I'm gonna play the super. We're gonna go one by one. Thank you so much. to Mr. Niles again. Mr. Niles, unbelievable. Thank you so much. Dennis Davis and Simon Desjardins. Yeah, I read it, Simon Desjardins, but we're going to get to you in a minute because we got to start with Mr. Niles, who says, shout out to Monahan. Signing in Columbus made Laine expendable via NHL contracts. GOAT gift from the hockey gods. Habs core will bring Demidov along good. And then I'm actually going to pair that with Dennis Davis, who says Demidov will work his way into more minutes because I think they go together. So first of all, Monahan still paying dividends for Montreal, and we still don't even know what that draft pick that we got is going to turn into. Like, there's so many interesting wrinkles in that whole Monahan saga with Montreal, but I suppose that's somewhat true. I don't think he necessarily led to the direct trading of Patrik Laine, but at the same time, you could even consider that the current Montreal Canadiens, well, you could absolutely consider the current Montreal Canadiens are in large part, whether directly or indirectly, from Sean Monahan, and that even includes Demidov to some extent, losing some games, having Monahan kind of not there, one of our better scorers, right? Like, and then you got Demidov, and I completely agree, he'll work his way into more minutes. So what do you think of that, Jesse? Monahan's impact and into how Demidov is like, because I also think Demidov's work ethic is too good. He wants to be too good to let himself, get too few minutes in the KHL.
It's the butterfly effect. I'll sing Sean Monahan's praises all day long. Fans of the show will know, like, all last year, as we were saying, like, Sean Monahan, this is a guy that just helps you win hockey games. He just does those things that you need them to do, right? It's just the gift that keeps on giving. But for sure, like the Monahan trade, Dach, even some shrewd planning, I would say, by Kent of having this team put them in a position where, we can kind of take a step back to take 2 steps forward, I think was just absolutely genius. Done by design. It's the Kent plan in full effect. Absolutely. And Demidov, for sure. That's the big thing about him, is that his work ethic is next level. We know he's a rink rat. He just stays there all the time. He doesn't want to leave. So a player like that, that they're going to be motivated when you eat, sleep, live hockey every day. It's like, that's what's so nice about him. It's not only that skill, but also breaking that stereotype that, he's a player that comes with that compete as well.
Yeah, I think, and Demidov considers himself a franchise level player. And, if you like, sometimes I get quite competitive. And Jesse, when I set a goal, I know you're very similar in a lot of these ways. When you set a goal, you're like, you gotta reach that. Because if you don't reach it, you're disappointed in yourself. And Demidov, this is his livelihood. This pressure's on his shoulders, and he wants to deliver. So I have no worries about this at all. I'm going to end that poll as well now that I think about it. 81% of people are not worried, and I think that's very, very fair. So we get into Simon Desjardins, who says, here's a super chat. I bet you read it. Nothing else to say there, except for just giving $10. Simon, thank you so much. So kind to you. Unbelievable. Thank you. I mean, if you send another message, we'll definitely read it as well. Really appreciate it. And another one, Jesse, from Polanco. This might end up being the last one of the stream because we've got a bit over time. But, we had a lot of good stuff to talk about. Polanco simply saying, can you imagine Monahan getting back to Montreal? You know what? I mean, I would love it. I just don't see where that happened. Columbus signed him for a long time. Longer than I thought Monahan was going to get. And honestly, I absolutely love that Monahan got a longer-term contract, especially with his injury history. He was written off by most NHL fans after Calgary and having these bad injury troubles and shipped off to Montreal with a first-round pick. Career rejuvenation in Montreal, even despite a first season. Like, I know people forget, like, he was really hurt that first season. And then he comes back and he plays so well. The second season was amazing. He inked himself a 5-year deal, Jesse. I'd love to see him back in Montreal, but unfortunately with the timeline, unless it's in a veteran role 5 years from now, if his body's still holding up, I'd love it. But I unfortunately just don't see it as much as I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I think Sean Monahan is already given so much to Montreal. I don't know if there's anything more that he can give, right? His time in here was legendary in its own way. Of course, we know he's beloved. Like, the locker room would love to have him back, right? The fans as well, for what he brings. But obviously, I think he served his role, with the Montreal Canadiens. Now going to take on that mentorship role with a young Columbus team and definitely help them quite a bit.
Yes, sir. And you know what? Jesse, I said it'd be the last one, but every time I do that, every time I even hint at the outro, these super chats just keep rolling in and they force us to keep going. Because I'm not about to just cut off a super chat, though that's happened before. Because there's a delay from when I say goodbye and from when the chat hears it. Like, I don't know, for you guys, it's probably 15, 20 seconds. Maybe not even. Right now, I actually think it's only like 5 or 10. But still, there's still a gap. So there have been times where super chats have come in after, and I always feel bad when that happens. But regardless, Ivman says, Slav will be a superstar in the NHL. So will Demidov. I think that's very true, Jesse. I mean, I think they're both very much on that path. Not a whole lot to say about that, but I think Slav especially. I think we're going to see a different, dominant, monstrous, if Elliot Friedman is right, force for at least the first month. I think we're going to get a great feel.
Definitely. And with Slav too, it's like, he's going to be our type of superstar though. Like, for me, I'd rather take a guy that's maybe scoring 30 goals, 40, 50 assists, but like really helping your team win hockey games all the time than just purely a 50-point, then an Austin Matthews, then 50, I'm sorry. I know that that's not shared around. I just think that's, if I have a playoff game, I want Slafkovsky over my team any day of the week over Matthews. Who be wrong? If we're coming in a board battle for the puck, and that's why, and we're not trying to just throw shade. It's more just of the point of like, I just take a player like that. Like, it's not all about the points at the end of the season at the scoreboard. There's a lot that goes into winning games. And much like Sean Monahan, as we spoke about, like Juraj Slafkovsky, that's what he does. And then that's how we shape his game. Like for him, it's all about the team. It's all about winning. So it's obviously not such a far stretch to see that that's what his contributions would see. In fact, that's what he's trying to do. That's the whole way that he plays. That's why we love these type of players, where it's about the organization, where you can have your cake and eat it too, be that type of guy, but still get that long-term deal, get the bag as well. So absolutely, I think Slav's definitely going to be a superstar in this league in his own right and in the best possible type of way.
Absolutely. As Alex points out, 30 days until the season opener. Just a month away, guys. October 9th versus the Leafs. Habs open up the season with back-to-back games, by the way, versus the Leafs and Bruins. Back-to-back nights. It's going to be crazy. Final super chat here from Wazo Premier. You've been supporting us so much, Wazo. Thank you so much. Good evening, guys. Good show again. Well, thank you so much. I mean, it's really, really appreciated. We love to bring the fans in. And Jesse, I did see a note there from Austin in chat. It says, hey, Jesse, love from your nephew. So if you have a nephew, Austin, you can give him a shout out there now.
Sorry about the Austin Matthews slander. I know that's your boy right there, but I had to say it. Yeah, thanks, Austin.
Appreciate it. That's it, guys. Well, yeah, I have big fingers. That's okay. I mean, I can read it. And Ifman with another one. I was about to do it, Jesse. We were about to get the outro, as Ifman says, just hit the like button, which would be fantastic. We smashed the goal of 150 likes that I had. We're at 175. I don't even think it's possible to get to 200. But if it is, I mean, I know you guys will be able to do it. And I'm going to ask. That's just unbelievable. But the one thing I will ask right now, guys, if you like the show, or if you know anyone else that might like this show, tell them to hit subscribe down below. It's free. You don't need to pay for a subscription. Channel memberships, yes, you get extra perks, but if you just hit subscribe, hit the notification bell and stuff, you help us out. You watch every single one of our videos, guys. We want to hit 15,000 before the season. It's kind of a crazy goal. We're about 1,000 away. To do that in 30 days, I think is crazy. But with your guys' help, I think we can maybe do it. And I know you guys want to hit that 15,000 goal as well. We got big goals, 25K and beyond, but like I said, if you enjoy the content, there's no reason not to hit subscribe. Our videos will show up more in your YouTube feed. You'll get kept up to date on all the latest Habs news, as we got another super chat from Mr. Niles. Austin Matthews is the NHL's LeBron James. All stats, no heart. It's only hockey. Look, I don't know if I can agree with that take. I think LeBron James is far better in the NBA than Austin Matthews ever will be in the NHL. In terms of goal scoring, Austin Matthews is going to go down as one of the greats of all time. I don't think there's any doubt there, but LeBron James is arguably, in a lot of people's minds, the single greatest player of all time, and I disagree that he has no heart, but I know some people have that thing, and you know what? The comparisons will come in. Jesse, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that before we do our send-off.
LeBron's got his chips, which I doubt Austin Matthews will ever get, for sure. But hopefully Matthews can learn, something from some of the greats, because obviously the talent's there. It's just about putting it kind of all together in the playoffs when it does kind of matter. So, I mean, jury's still out there, but there'll need to be a fundamental change that happens there.
Yeah, for sure. There's some people in here like hate from Mr. Niles and Blanco. LeBron got the ring. We're not about to get into whether LeBron's the GOAT debate in this comment section, but what I will say, though, for now, that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and most importantly, guys, subscribe to the channel if you want to help us hit this insane goal of 15,000 subscribers before the season starts in 30 days. We want to try and get there. We might be pushing it in more videos, and I know not all of you like that. You can skip that part. There's the skip button in YouTube's there for a reason. You don't have to listen to me say it every single video. I don't mind if you do it, but when I say it, it works, and I'd love to do that, so really, really appreciate it. Tom says, how about a send-off for number 13? Well, I'm assuming you mean Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. There were some pretty sad statements made today, Jesse. I don't know if you saw it. So again, just that's actually not a bad idea, Tom. Best wishes to the family. Some pretty tough information today that his wife, Johnny Gaudreau's wife Meredith, is pregnant with their third child. So it makes it tougher. So again, best wishes to them and their family, and hoping the best for their future in whatever way that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And even out of the tragedy, though, we see that it's still, you know, that his legacy will continue on, and that's for sure. Not only through Cole Caufield's number 13, but more importantly through his son, through his family, right? Which obviously, you know, he's very beloved, and obviously, you know, just brings. This is why we're doing this show, is because of hockey. It's because of players like him that cared so much about their craft to really make it their career. So, you know, we're so thankful, you know, to his contributions to the game.
Absolutely. We're gonna see how Caufield does with that number on his back. I'm sure he's gonna make Johnny Gaudreau proud. But as we said, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you guys all in the next one.